Good evening, you're watching the main news on HKIBC. I'm Joanna Ho. Here's a look at tonight's top stories. Top Chinese and American officials meet for the first time since the balloon incident sparked a diplomatic crisis. Government hints at easing reclamation restrictions around Victoria Harbour. And the airport records a surge in passengers last month, but still pale in comparison to pre-COVID levels. The top diplomats of China and the United States met for the first time since an alleged Chinese spy balloon was shot down 2 weeks ago. Wang Yi told Antony Blinken to stop inflaming Sino-US relations, while the latter warned Beijing that the incursion must never occur again. Macy Mock reports.
U.S. Secretary of State Antony Blinken met with China's top diplomat Wang Yi in a closed-door meeting that took place on the sidelines of a global security conference in Munich. The highly anticipated meeting came 2 weeks after Washington ordered the Air Force to shoot down an alleged Chinese spy balloon which traversed continental United States. Beijing had condemned the operation, insisting it was a weather monitoring device which was blown off course. Blinken, who was scheduled to visit Beijing earlier this month, also canceled his trip. According to Xinhua News Agency, Wang told Blinken that the U.S. should resolve the damage it has done to bilateral relations caused by the indiscriminate use of force. He also reiterated his stance during a speech at the Munich Security Conference hours before the meeting. He said the Washington's action not only failed to prove its might, but achieved the exact opposite. He called for the U.S. not to do absurd things in diplomatic exchanges for the sake of domestic political needs. In an interview with American broadcaster NBC, Blinken said Wang did not apologize for the balloon during the hour-long meeting. Blinken wrote on social media that he had condemned Beijing for the incursion of the surveillance balloon and stressed that the invasion must not happen again. He also warned China not to provide material support to Russia for its invasion of Ukraine. Wang said earlier in the Munich conference that China always stands on the side of peace and dialogue. Blinken stressed the importance of open lines of communication at all times, adding that the U.S. is not looking to start a new Cold War. Maisie Mock, HKIBC.
Locally in Hong Kong, a law which forbids all forms of reclamation around Victoria Harbour could be relaxed under a proposed amendment. The development minister argues that it is time-consuming and difficult to seek an exemption, leaving some much-needed projects in limbo. Jenna Slow reports.
To protect Victoria Harbour from further shrinking, a law was enacted in the late 1990s to ban most forms of reclamation in the area. The Protection of Harbour Ordinance still exempts works with compelling and overriding need, but applications usually face lengthy legal challenges. The Development Minister confirmed that a study is underway to amend the law and facilitate necessary works. Writing on her bi-weekly blog, Bernadette Lin gave a few examples on how ordinary citizens can benefit. She pointed to New Praia at Kennedy Town, a popular photo spot for tourists to watch the sunset. But the lack of a footpath means people often have to venture onto the road, putting themselves in danger amid oncoming traffic. Lin explained the government's hands are tied as the ordinance forbids the expansion of the seawall to build a boardwalk. Similar plans to revitalize the derelict sites were scrapped, such as the former vehicular ferry pier in Kowloon City. The Grade 2 historic building has been abandoned since 1998 following declining usage. Even projects away from Victoria Harbour were also affected. Construction for a 17-kilometer cycle track between Tsuen Wan and So Kwun Wat in Tuen Mun is suspended even after a public consultation was completed last December. Authorities are now obtaining an exemption to construct temporary working stations in the water. Lin stressed that the proposed amendment only seeks to streamline the construction of such facilities, and it remains the government's view that no reclamation should take place around the world-famous harbour. Plans will be submitted to the Harbourfront Commission and the Legislative Council for discussion, while the public will also have a say in a consultation exercise. Janice Low, HKIBC.
Community groups are making last-ditch demands for relief measures before the Financial Secretary unveils his budget this week. The Society for Community Organizations staged a petition outside government headquarters. The concerned group is appealing for financial assistance for the unemployed, as well as a $10,000 handout for the underprivileged. But it's not sure if their calls came too late. In a photo published on his website, Paul Chan is already holding a copy of his latest budget, which features an eye-catching orange cover. He said the color reflects his confidence and hope for Hong Kong's future, even though he is expected to announce a massive deficit in excess of $100 billion. Hong Kong's airport handled about 2.1 million passengers last month, marking a 29-fold surge from the same period last year. 500,000 travelers moved in and out of the city from all control points yesterday, nearly triple the amount a fortnight ago. With Hong Kong scrapping most of its inbound travel restrictions, the airport has seen a jump in passenger traffic in recent weeks. More than 2 million people moved in and out of the city via Check Lap Kok last month, nearly 29 times the number from the same period a year ago. The airport authority noted significant traffic increases to and from Southeast Asia and Japan, likely due to pent-up demand from Hong Kong residents who were unable to travel for the past 3 years. The Lunar New Year holiday in the second half of January and the reopening of the mainland market to international travel also drove up demand. But overall, the passenger traffic was still a far cry from pre-COVID times. Even during the social unrest in December 2019, the airport received 5.7 million passengers, nearly triple the amount last month. Flight movements saw a 35% increase year-on-year to more than 16,000, but cargo throughput sank 26% to 288,000 tons. The authority blamed the cargo slump on global economic uncertainties and mainland factory closures during Lunar New Year. But the city remains on course for a robust economic recovery, judging from passenger traffic at different control points. More than 500,000 travelers went in and out of the city yesterday, 16% higher than the previous Saturday, and triple the amount 2 weeks ago, just before cross-border travel fully resumed. Over 20,000 travelers passed through the new Hung Yuen Wai checkpoint yesterday alone. As the only checkpoint with a public car park, the facility was overwhelmed with motorists in the first few days. Authorities have since amended the rules so that only those who secure a booking can park their ride there. The queues were gone and order has been restored on the first weekend after the new measures were put in place. From Friday, motorists also face steep penalties of up to $75 per hour if they overstay their booking period. In a rare accident, a set of ceiling-mounted operating theater light had collapsed at United Christian Hospital. No patient was there at the time, but an assistant suffered minor injuries, Janice Low reports.
The hospital authority reports medical blunders from time to time, but its latest announcement had nothing to do with human error. It revealed that a surgical light installed at an operating theatre in United Christian Hospital had fallen. A photo believed to be taken at the scene after the accident has since circulated online. It shows the ceiling-mounted light had landed on the surgical table with other pieces of equipment on the ground. The authority said no patient was present, but an anesthetic assistant was hit on the shoulder and suffered minor injuries. An initial probe by the vendor suggested the accident was caused by faulty screws. 5 other sets of surgical lights at United Christian Hospital may be prone to the defect and will be replaced. The same model is also installed at 29 operating theaters in public hospitals across the city, and urgent inspections will be carried out. The authority admitted some non-emergency surgeries may be delayed and patients will be informed individually. Janice Low, HKIBC.
4 people, including 2 firefighters, were sent to hospital after a fire engulfed a village house in Yunlong early this morning. Firefighters rushed to the scene at Shengche village in Petheng at around 4 a.m. An explosion was heard at one stage. The blaze was extinguished about half an hour later. Both tenants, a 38-year-old woman and her 14-year-old son, were rescued. They were once in a coma but have since regained consciousness. A dog was also found dead at the scene. 2 firemen also suffered burns to their back and arms during the rescue operation. An investigation is still underway. On to the weather now. Dry with sunny periods tomorrow. Temperatures will range between 17 and 23 degrees. The pleasant conditions will last for the next few days. Now let's take a look at the weather around the world. That's our main news for Sunday night. Join us for more news at 11. I'm Joanna Ho. Thanks for watching. Good night.